Hello, amazing viewers. You're welcome to my channel. This is Luchi's Design. If you're a returning subscriber, thanks for all your support. And if you're seeing my video for the first time, please kindly hit the subscribe button to join the family. And also turn on your notification bell so you get notified once I upload a new video. In today's tutorial, I'll be teaching you how to make this overlay wrap jumpsuit. Please make sure you watch till the end, because this tutorial is well detailed and is also beginners friendly. So this is the fabric I'll be using for this tutorial. It's a non-stretchy fabric. I make use of 4.5 yards for the dress. You can use any fabric of your choice, but make sure the fabric is not thick or heavy. I made a rough sketch for you to get the overview of what we are making today. So let's go straight to the cutting table. I'll be starting with the upper part, and I will use this pattern paper to show you how I cut the upper part. For the lower part, I will be marking directly on the fabric. Okay, to start with, I will be placing my chest line. I divided my bust measurement by 6 and I added extra 1.5 inches. That's the calculation I normally use to get my chest depth. For my half length, I used 17 inches and I added half inch for joining allowance. Alright, you don't need too much measurement on the upper part. I have a detailed tutorial on how to draft a basic bodice. I'm just doing this for the sake of beginners and for those seeing my video for the first time. After ruling my lines out, I will divide my shoulder by 2. My shoulder is 16 divided by 2, I have 8 inches. Also place 8 inches on my chest line so that I can get a straight line. Alright, so the next thing now is to mark my neck width. I use the neck width of 3.5 inches for this dress and the neck depth of 5 inches. You can use whatever you want. So I mark a straight line to get my V-neck line. From my shoulder line, I will come down by 1 inch to get my shoulder slant. I will connect it to my neck width. So I will place my tape this way to get half of the line. So on the midpoint, I will come in by 0.75. I will connect it this way. I will divide my bust by 4 and add 1 inch for sewing allowance, and I will curve my armhole. Just curve it the way you see me doing. Alright, after that, I will divide my round waist by 4 and I will place quarter of my round waist there. I'll add 1 inch for sewing allowance and I will connect it. There's no dart on this particular jumpsuit. I don't see any need for that. The dress will still come out very fine. So this is all I have for the front part. After cutting it out, I will place it on my fabric and cut exactly what I have here, and I will use it to cut my back part. Please note that I did not add any other sewing allowance on the fabric. I'll use the front part now to cut out my back part. I've placed it on my fabric, leaving 1.5 inches for my zipper allowance. Alright, so I will now move my line out. I will now mark my back neck depth. I use 1.5 inches, so I will connect it. I will also add half inch on my shoulder, and on the center here I will add half inch because back armhole is not supposed to be deep. I think I will change my chalk. The disappearing chalk that I use is not visible on this dress. I'll change it when I'm cutting the lower part so that you can see it very clearly. So I've trimmed it off now. This is what I have. I will now slash the back zipper allowance open. That's all for the upper part. I will now show you how you can cut your facing. You can use bias and turn your neckline, but I will be using facing so that I will achieve a neat finishing. So I folded a piece of fabric. I use my front part to place on it. I'll use my pin to hold it. I make sure it covered my shoulder line because I will be turning my shoulder with the facing. So I came down by 3 inches and I will trim it off. Just watch what I'm doing, you will get it right. I'll also do the same thing for the back part. I'll notch my zipper allowance and I will trace it out. I will also slash center of my facing open. After that, the next thing now is to cut my lower part, that's trouser part. I will be cutting the front part first. I've gone ahead to fold my fabric into two. At the folded edge, I will leave about 1 inch. That's for my sewing allowance, and I will root a straight line to indicate it. The full length I'm working with is 58 inches. I will minus 17 inches for the upper part. I will place my tape on the starting point to get my full length. I have 56 for my full length. I added 2 inches for folding, making it 58 inches in total. The next thing now is to place my vertical measurement. To get my hip depth, I divided my actual round hip by 4 and I minus 1.5 inches. I have 10 inches. I will put my body measurement on the screen. For my crotch, I divided my padded hip by 4 and I added 1 inch because I'm making a jumpsuit and I want the crotch area to be well fitted. That's why I added extra 1 inch. For my knee, I used 20 inches. I've already determined the full length. If you are wearing a padded hip like me, make sure you divide your crotch by that your new hip, not your actual hip circumference. Please take note of that. I've ruled out my lines. The next thing is to divide my new hip circumference by 4. Divided by 4, I have a straight line. Straight down. I will use my ruler now to mark a straight line down to the hem. After that, I will be dividing my waist by 4 and I will place the measurement from this side. So I have 10 inches. I'll mark it and connect it to my hip line. Just connect it the way you see me doing. So after that, I will be marking my crotch extension. To get my front crotch extension, I'll be dividing my new hip 48 inches by 20. That is accurate calculation that work for all body sizes. I have 2.4 for my crotch extension. On this line now, I will place 2.4 inches there. Mark it. Can you see the 2.4? So I'll place it here now. Just follow what I'm doing, you will get it right. So I will now curve it. To curve it, I will come out by 1 inch from this corner so that the curve won't be too deep. Alright, so I've curved it already. From my crotch line, I will come down by 3.5 inches to mark my thigh line and I will rule it out. This 3.5 inches I came down from my crotch line is standard. So I will now divide my crotch extension by 2. I place my tape from the crotch extension line to get the middle. I will mark a straight line. This line is called crease line. This crease line will help me to shape my trouser leg accurately. I will divide my round thigh measurement by 2. 29 divided by 2, I have 14.5 inches. So that 14.5 inches, I will share it on the both sides. From the crease line, I will mark 7.4 inches. And from this side, I will also place 7.4 inches. The way you see me doing, I've connected it to my hip line. So on my knee, I will also do the same thing. My knee is 20 inches. I divide it into 2. I have 10. So 10, I will share it on the both sides. 5 inches. I'll mark 5 inches from the crease line. I'll also mark 5 inches on this side. That's, if I measure it, it will give me 10 inches. I'll connect it the way you see me doing. So from my knee line, I will rule it straight down. I want the down part to be free. It's a palazzo jumpsuit, so it's meant to be free. I'll pull it up a little bit so that you can see what I'm doing. I will also mark 5 inches. The same thing I did on the knee. So to guide me on how to rule my line. So I'll mark 5 on this side too. And I will rule a straight line. Can you see what I have there? Please make sure you subscribe to my channel if you find my video helpful. Okay, after that, I will now come down by 1 inch on the waistline. This is to eliminate the excess folding at the front. I slanted it to the waistline. You can still confirm your measurements. My own is very accurate, both for the waist and for my lap. Alright, so I'll be adding 0.75 for my sewing allowance. I will add it around the trouser, the way you see me doing. On the down part of the trouser, I reduce the 0.75 to half inch. You can use half inch or 1 inch as your sewing allowance. That is totally up to you. So I will cut it off now. After cutting it off, I will fold my fabric and place the front part on it. I've done that already, but I left about 2 inches on the upper part and about 1 inch on the side. You will understand the reason for that as this video progresses. So from the front waistline, I will come up by 2 inches. This is because of our buttocks. If you don't do this, the back will be too low and it won't cover your buttocks very well. As you can see, I've extended my lines. So I will now connect this my 2 inches the way you see me doing. Just slant it to the side. So from this first line, I will come in by 1 inch, not the sewing allowance like the first line. So I will slant it to my hip line. Just watch what I'm doing. I will slant it. The line is not straight. This is because our center back is deep, so that it can relax very well on our back. That's the reason why I came in by 1 inch. The next thing now is to determine my back crotch extension. For the back, I will divide my hip by 10. I have 4.5. I will add half inch. From this first line I mark on the front, I will mark my 5 inches for the crotch extension. I will curve it the way you see me doing. Remember, for the front, I divided my hip by 20 to get my crotch extension. That is the accurate formula for that. So on the side back, I will be replacing the 1 inch I came in at the center back. So I will mark 1 inch. I will connect it back. I will also mark the 1 inch here. So on my hip line, I will mark 1 inch for ease allowance. Please note the difference between ease allowance and sewing allowance. I added my sewing allowance on the front, so it will compensate for the back part. On the knee, I added half inch. I will connect it to my hip. On this side, I will also add half inch on my knee and I will connect it to my crotch. The ease allowance I added on the back is because our back is bigger than our front. If you don't add the ease allowance, the back will be too tight and it won't fit in on your body. I will just root the half inch straight down on this side. You can study my markings, and if you have any question, let me know on the comment section. I'm done placing my markings. I will now cut it off. Okay, I will also confirm my back part for you to see what I have. I have 10 inch plus 1 inch I added. That's very accurate. I will cut it off now. Okay, I will be adding zip allowance on the back part. So I will mark 1.5 inches for my zipper allowance. I almost forget the zipper allowance. Please don't forget your zipper allowance. I came down by 9 inch for the length of the zipper allowance. I will trim everything off now, the way you see me doing. Please, if you find my video helpful, kindly hit the subscribe button and turn on your notification bell to get notified anytime I upload a new video. I'm done cutting the trouser. So the next thing now to do is to show you how I cut the wrap on the front and on the back part. So this is how the wrap look like. It has a belt. So I've gone ahead to fold my paper into two. I extended the length to 58 inches. So I will be placing my vertical measurement now. From my shoulder to my chest line, I will mark it. From my shoulder to my waist, I have 17 inches. From my shoulder to my hip, I have 26 inches. From my shoulder to my knee, I have 35 inches. And the full length is 58. So I have ruled out my lines. I will mark half of my shoulder on this line, also on my chest lines. To get a straight line, I will connect it. So I will mark my neck width of 3 inches. Because it's a wrap dress, the neck depth is not necessary, but I will still mark it. You can mark for anything at all, it's not necessary. So I will come down by 1 inch for my shoulder slope. I will connect it. On my chest line, I will mark quarter of my bust circumference and I'll add 1 inch for sewing allowance. I will divide this part by 2. At the middle, I will come in by 0.75. The same way I did on the upper of the jumpsuit. I will connect it. Make sure it's the same thing you mark on the upper part of the jumpsuit is what you will mark here. On my waistline, I will mark quarter of my waist circumference and add half in. On my hip line, I will place quarter of 48 on my hip line and add 1 inch. On my knee, I will mark my round knee and I will connect it. For my round knee, I deducted 8 inches from my actual hip circumference. Whatever I have left, I will divide it by 4. That's how to get your round knee. And from my knee, I will roll it straight down. That's all for that. So I will cut it off now. Or let me just mark the neck depth. I will mark a V neckline. So after that, I will go ahead and cut off my pattern. I've already cut it off, so I will unfold it now so that I can show you how to cut the wrap dress. So on my waistline, I will extend the line that I mark on the waist. Just watch carefully what I'm doing here. So on this side now, I will come in by 2.5 inches. If you are using a stretchy fabric, you can come in by 4 inches, but my fabric is not stretchy. So you watch how I will connect it to my neckline now. I will slant it in a curvy way to meet my shoulder line. Okay, I will use my pattern master now to guide me. You just slant it this way. Just watch what I'm doing. To that 2.5 inches you can end with. If you don't have pattern master, you can also use your French cuff to do this. So I've slanted it. The next thing now is to slant it to the hemline. That to the down part, I will mark a straight line. Just study how I'm rolling it down. You can add your sewing allowance on the pattern before you cut it out, but I will do that on the fabric. You can still measure it to guide you, see where it terminated, where I started covering it. Please write add sewing allowance on your pattern so that you won't forget to add it on the fabric. Make sure you watch the sewing part. I will show you how you cut the front and back if I'm placing it on my fabric. I don't want to make the video too long. Watch out for part 2.